Clara and I have been married for 8 years. We have 2 wonderful children, a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. We met in college through mutual friends and started dating in our junior year. Clara was outgoing, cheerful, and seemed to know everyone on campus. I was more reserved, more of a nerd, and didn't hang out with a crowd, so to speak. I was studying engineering, and she was studying business. Despite all our differences, there was something that connected us that I didn't understand. When we started dating, everything was great. I sincerely believed that I was the happiest person on earth. Clara was beautiful, all the guys liked her, and I always wondered what she saw in me. I believed that she liked that I wasn't like the other guys she hung out with. She hinted once or twice that all her ex-boyfriends were more or less alike, and that she wanted something different. But she never meant what she said. In college, we seemed close. We studied together, hung out with friends, and developed a relationship. Sometimes she was distant or moody, but I was inclined to believe that these were just periodic phases in the relationship. After graduation, we both got job offers in the same city and decided to move in together. That's when I started noticing some warning signs, but I couldn't put my finger on them. One of the first signs that she wasn't interested in physical intimacy was that she showed no interest in sex. Yes, we had sex, but it was often mechanical, as if she was only doing it because she felt she had to. I brought it up a few times, but she always said she was tired from work or stressed out and that it had nothing to do with me. I believed her. I didn't want to admit that something was wrong between us, so I convinced myself that things would change over time. Oh, and I also noticed that the more we literally bumped into someone from college, the more awkward she acted, especially with the guys she used to be friends with in the good old days. Once I was at a restaurant and she saw her friend across the room, Heckerling says. Suddenly, she became very nervous and afraid to look at any of them, as if she hoped to become invisible. I asked who it was, but she waved it off and said, "No one important." But the tone of her voice contradicted her words. And then there was her desire to do everything her parents wanted her to do, and they, like old-school fathers, had pretty strong ideas about what it meant to be a good husband and father. Clara always worked herself to the bone to make them love me. Before family dinners, she would rehearse with me, telling me what to say and what not to say. At first, I thought it was sweet that she cared so much about what they thought. But over time, it became clear to me that she was much more concerned with being what they wanted her to be, with fitting into their idea of the perfect life, than with being herself. After living together for just over 2 years, I proposed, and she accepted. But something wasn't right. When I did it, she was happy enough, but not particularly excited. I shared the news of our engagement, and she immediately started working on the logistics, planning, scheduling, deadlines, and spent less time thinking about enjoying and celebrating our love. The wedding preparations were stressful. We argued a lot, but I thought it was just normal pre-wedding stress. Her parents micromanaged everything from the venue to the guest list, and she always did what they wanted, even when I knew it wasn't what she wanted. The wedding itself was beautiful, and everyone seemed to be having a great time. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was more relieved than happy. She was more relaxed than she had been since our honeymoon, but she remained distant, especially in terms of physical contact. I began to wonder if she was simply asexual, or worse, if I wasn't actually someone she found attractive. The first few years of our marriage were normal. We fell into a routine, work, home life, trying to become part of the future. We bought a house and started talking seriously about starting a family. Clara was thrilled at the prospect of becoming a mother. When she was pregnant with our daughter, she glowed with happiness. I thought this stage would bring us closer together. But that didn't happen, not the way I had hoped. Motherhood changed Clara in ways I couldn't have imagined. She became a wonderful, devoted mother, but she also grew more and more distant from me emotionally. She was always too tired or busy with the kids to spend time with me as a spouse, I tried to plan romantic dates or weekends away, but she would end up canceling or leaving early, and I felt our emotional connection fading. I began to feel like nothing more than a helper, a teammate who simply took care of the bills, the housework, and raising the children, not a partner at all. And every time I tried to talk to her about it, she would respond that raising young children is difficult, but that things would get better as they got older. She also said that I was selfish for wanting more love when she was drowning in housework and parenting. This made me feel guilty, so I stopped talking about it. Then, about 6 months ago, everything took a terrible turn. Clara started using her phone much more often. She said she was just texting her sister or talking to her coworkers, but I noticed that she was texting a lot, going to bed late, and being more protective of her phone than before. She also started going out with her friends a lot and coming home late. When I asked her about it, she said that I didn't give her any freedom and had become too controlling. She started dressing differently, wearing more stylish clothes that suited her better. She started wearing perfume and styling her hair like she did in college. When I told her how good she looked, she smiled and waved her hand, saying she was just trying to take care of herself. Then, 3 months ago, we had a big fight over something trivial. At that moment, Clara said that we were like roommates raising children together. She told me that she wasn't happy in our marriage. I was stunned. I knew things weren't perfect, but I didn't know she was that unhappy. I asked if there was any way we could work things out. She mentioned that maybe marriage counseling would help, but she never called. Whenever I brought it up, she said she was too busy or not ready. 2 months ago, I discovered that she had been looking for an apartment online. When I asked her about it, she said she was just looking and had no plans to move. She said she was curious about what life would be like somewhere else. I didn't believe her. We had another big fight, this time about trust and honesty. And then there was her sister's birthday party, the night that ruined everything. I Googled him, and to be honest, he seems like a nice guy. His profile is full of photos from fancy restaurants, social events, and vacation spots. I can understand why someone like Clara might find him more interesting than me. I can't help but imagine her comparing us right now and believing she made a bad choice. I'm just a bad guy who asked his wife to leave after she confessed she never had feelings for me and only married me because I was a safe choice. I understand that she was drunk and let her true self show, because when people are drunk, they tell the truth, and I can't help but accept what she really thinks about us. First of all, thank you. And thank you so much to everyone who responded to my first post. I read every single comment, and it reminded me that I'm not overreacting or losing my mind. Sober people don't make up lies, but we learn from those who let alcohol say out loud what they hide in their cutlery drawers, or in plain sight on the never-used dining room table or kitchen table. Some of you have noticed that alcohol doesn't make people make up lies, it makes them tell the truth they usually hide. That really struck me. A week or two after writing this story, I felt I needed to return to the old tradition from the 1960s that I had heard about and talk to Clara about everything. Our marriage, her confession, what we meant when we said things, and who we are as people. I waited until the kids were at school and invited her into the living room. I said, "We need to talk about everything that's happened." She started crying again and apologizing, repeating that she didn't mean anything by it, and that she was very sorry she said those things. But I stopped her. I told her that for once in my life I needed a completely honest answer. I told her that I deserved to know what she really believed about me and about the world. If we wanted a chance to move forward, the lies and excuses had to stop. And then she revealed a secret to me, that no, I hadn't been physically attracted to her in the same way that Dale and several of her other exes had been when we were in school together. She even admitted that at the beginning of our relationship, she believed she could get over it, figure out how to be attracted to me in that way. But that didn't happen, at least not in the way she had hoped. She also confessed that, on top of that, and because 1, my parents loved me, she married me. They saw me as a reliable and responsible future husband and father, and their opinion meant everything to her at the time. She assured me that she told herself that physical chemistry wasn't as important as compatibility, friendship, and shared values. The worst thing she said was that after 5 years she started to feel resentment toward me, not because I did anything wrong, but because I wasn't as exciting and spontaneous as the guys she had dated before. She said she knew it was unfair to blame me for being who I am, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she would have had a more fulfilling and exciting life if she hadn't gotten involved with me. When I brought up Dale and asked if she had really tried to contact him, her behavior changed completely. She became defensive and said it was a stupid, rash mistake, a kind of midlife crisis. But under my pressure, she admitted that she had been thinking about him for several months before she sent him the message. She fantasized about how her life would have turned out if they had stayed together. In the end, I wrote to him that I had written to him on Facebook, that I was thinking about him and didn't want to meet up. She admitted that she had been constantly checking her phone ever since, desperately hoping to see a reply. And yes, she said that if he had said yes, she would have gone to him, even though she knew it was wrong. It was like a punch in the chest, blow after blow. I didn't believe it, but I knew where I stood. I asked her coldly if she wanted to save our marriage or if we should just split up. She said she didn't know. She said she was confused, that she didn't even know what she wanted. I told her I needed to think things over, that I would pack my things and move in with my brother for a few days. She cried and begged me to stay, but I just couldn't live with her under the same roof. I needed space. Staying with my brother and his wife really saved me. They were sympathetic, understood me, and didn't try to push me in any direction. They just listened. It helped me realize that I deserve to be with someone who wants me, who chooses me not because I'm a safe choice, but because they love me for who I am. When I returned a week later, I sat down with Clara for a difficult conversation. This time I didn't argue with her. I told her straight out that I believed we needed to get a divorce. She was stunned. She said she still believed our relationship could be saved with the help of a therapist, but that I would have to work very, very hard to make our marriage work. But I immediately replied that no amount of therapy could fix what was really wrong. She had never been truly attracted to me and had never loved me the way I loved her. She said that love wasn't just attraction, and that we had built a good life together. She told us that we should stay together for the sake of the children, he said. But I also promised myself that I wouldn't be a passing phase in someone else's life. I argued that our children needed to see a loving relationship, and that staying together for their sake would lead to chaos in the future. Things came to a head. She told me that I gave up too easily, that I didn't fight for our family. But I also told her that, unbeknownst to her, I had been fighting for our relationship for years, even though she had long since left my life emotionally. I said it was unfair of her to continue asking me to fight for something she had long since stopped believing in. Since then, we have all been in a painful state of separation. It has been awful and emotionally exhausting. Clara has been a little out of sorts, swinging between rage and grief. At times, she has been cold and distant, even making me out to be the bad guy. And then she would cry and say, "Please, please take me back." The worst part? I still love her. I'm not proud of myself, but after 8 years of marriage and 2 children, those feelings don't disappear in an instant. I wonder if I'm making a big mistake by leaving. I started looking for a place to live and working out a custody schedule that would work best for the kids. Clara keeps saying we should try family therapy first, but I feel like that's just delaying the inevitable. And I want to stop dragging this out and confusing our kids. Linda, this is just breaking my heart. I believe it's terrible for children to learn about their parents' divorce. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I might have a purpose now. I now clearly understand what I want and what I am worth. I do not deserve to be with someone who wants my body. rather than someone who agreed to marry me because their parents told them to. I know, someone out there will tell me that I'm being too harsh, giving up too quickly, trying to save my marriage. I'm not giving up hope, but I don't believe you can make someone love you or make someone feel something they've never felt before. 8 years ago, Clara chose when to marry me, not because she was madly in love with me, but because she wasn't completely in love. Now I'm creating my own, to find someone who will be easy to choose. It's been almost a month since I last contacted you, kind people, and I wanted to tell you what I've been up to. Because in striving for mediocrity, I've actually been doing something interesting. I found an apartment and officially moved out of my parents' house about 3 weeks ago. It's been very difficult for everyone. The children live with Clara during the week and with me on weekends. They want to know why Mommy and Daddy don't live together anymore. My daughter asks every day when I'm coming home, and my son, who used to be pretty calm, is acting out at school and throwing tantrums we've never seen before. Clara and I are trying to raise the children as best we can, but it's very exhausting psychologically. We both feel tense when we have to communicate. She still vacillates between anger and wanting me back. It's mentally exhausting. Every time I pick up or drop off the children, she tries to talk about us, and I have to repeat that we are getting divorced. I don't want to go through this over and over again. Then, 2 weeks ago, something unexpected happened. Something that only complicated the situation. I was shopping at a store near my new apartment and ran into someone I knew. I finally realized who it was. It was Dale, Clara's ex-husband, the man she had been trying to contact. He saw me, I waved at him, he came over, said hello, and asked how I was doing. We talked for about 20 minutes. Surprisingly, he wasn't at all the exciting, unreal man Clara had described. He was quiet, shy, and gentle. He's an accountant at a small company and lives alone in a small apartment. No glamour. A month ago, he continued, he received a message from Clara, but didn't feel safe enough to respond. He decided not to respond because he had been in a monogamous relationship for 3 years and felt that, in my current relationship, it would be inappropriate and unethical to engage in such an exchange. He was also surprised that she had contacted him at all. They had barely spoken in college. Their relationship, he said, had been short and casual, maybe 6 months, not very intense. In fact, he had ended it because it had become clear to him that they wanted different things out of life. It was an interesting conversation for me. It also helped me understand what a fantasy life Clara was living, a romanticized past that was completely delusional. She had convinced herself that Dale was one of those men who left, and that she should have left with him. But in reality, he was just another man, just like you and me, and their relationship was not nearly as wonderful as she described it. I never told Dale about what happened between Clara and me. It didn't seem right. But when we said goodbye, I felt a strange sense of relief and deep sadness. At some point, a crisis of faith leads to clarity. When I got back to my apartment, loneliness hit me like a truck. I started to question everything. Had I been too hasty in leaving? Could we have worked things out if we had tried a little harder? I even believed that I would call Clara and ask her if she wanted to try going to family counseling again. But then the weekend came, and I remembered why I had left. Clara felt sorry for me, and when I brought the kids over on Sunday evening, she invited me in for coffee. I know I'm not around much. At least that's what she said, but I never believed her. She started telling me how much she wanted me to be home. She said she had been thinking a lot and that she always knew I was a good husband and a great father, and that she had taken me for granted. She also told me that she had finally mustered up the courage to see a therapist and was finally beginning to realize that she wasn't just unhappy with our marriage. It had more to do with her own issues, which, as we discovered, included a fear of commitment and a feeling that she was constantly missing out on something better. She went on to say that she even felt like we could be together again, if only we were both willing to be more open and honest. For a moment, I let a spark of hope light up in my heart. Part of me wanted to believe what I was hearing. Maybe we could fix things. But then she said something that shattered that hope like a knife. She also said that I didn't turn her on as much as other men did, but she had learned to appreciate everything else about me. Physical attraction, she added, could grow over time if we gave it a chance. That's when I realized she still didn't get it. It wasn't that she had suddenly realized how much she wanted me. It was that she was willing to force herself to feel something she didn't feel, for appearances, for the sake of appearances, and/or for the sake of the children. I told her that I appreciated her honesty, but that I didn't want to be in a relationship where my partner had to make an effort to feel attracted to me. I want to be loved for who I am, not have someone convince themselves that they love me. She got angry and said I was a deluded idiot, that all long-term relationships require effort and reciprocity. But I replied that some things, like genuine attraction, shouldn't be suppressed. We ended up having a huge fight, and I left, more convinced than ever that I had made the right decision. I spent the next few days going over her words in my head, about developing attraction, about the science of appreciating me, and so on and so forth. It made me realize how little I got out of our marriage. I settled for crumbs, and I don't want to live like that anymore. I'm only 32 years old. I'm not dead yet. I still have a lot ahead of me. And I want to spend my life with someone who wants to have sex with me, who enjoys spending time with me, and who chooses me because they can't imagine choosing anyone else. Lately, I've been focusing on settling into my new life, furnishing my apartment, working out a new daily routine with my kids, and dreaming about the future I want to build. I've gone back to the gym. I've also reconnected with people I hardly saw when I was married. And for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to feel like myself again. The couple is in the process of getting divorced. Clara and I have turned to a third party, a mediator, to resolve child custody and financial issues. She still believes I will come to my senses. But I have a feeling that she is starting to accept what is really happening. Her family writes me emails, calls me, makes me feel guilty, asks if I want to give the marriage another chance. But I told them, and this is the absolute truth, categorically. This is between me and Clara. Their perspective doesn't help. My family is being wonderful. They told me that looking back, they always felt that I wasn't happy, despite how hard I tried to keep everything together. I remember my mom telling me that even she had suspected for a long time that Clara wasn't right for me, but she didn't want to interfere. It's strange to think that other people noticed the cracks in my marriage before I did.